What's up, world? Let me tell you about this beard growth oil I got from 12 tribes on Earth. 8 ounces of oily goodness with a nozzle that prevents sprays and spills, and soft ingredients that make it perfect addition to anyone's morning routine. From coconut to castor, all these oils are hand chosen. After using this herbal blend, the biggest thing I noticed is how soft, how strong my hair was, and how good I feel. Pick up your bottle today and make your beard the star of the show.
Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Boy, I tell you what, I don't know if you heard, but Venezuela had a horrible earthquake. They said hundreds of buildings have collapsed, and they expect the fatality to be in the thousands because this thing hit when people were working, people were out and about. And I mean, if an earthquake happens work hours and it's a 7.5, and then another earthquake comes 39 seconds later and it's a 7.7, yeah, a lot of homes and buildings collapsed. They said Caracas is practically gone, and other areas of Venezuela, they said it is devastated from all the collapsed buildings. And, they're under emergency. They need a lot of help. They said a lot of people are buried under rubble. Man, this thing was bad. It was bad. And didn't their gang, weren't they messing with the people up there in Chicago? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Because there was a lot of stories coming out, and Chicago was having a problem with the Venezuelan gangs moving in around, our brothers and sisters up there in Chicago. Those Venezuelans were moving around there, and they were being a thorn in their side. So it's funny how, this country where the gangs come out of, that's where they got hit. And yep, that's it. And I also remember Colorado, Aurora, they were going door to door getting people's rent. Y'all remember that? Because I showed that, I believe, in a premiere back when that happened. And this gang was in Aurora, Colorado, and they were going door to door taking everybody's rent, and they were heavily armed with assault rifles and everything. Yeah, they said it was even earthquakes in California as well. So it was a lot of activity. So, y'all, let me go ahead and share my screen, and you're going to see the actual earthquake as it happens. And man, I tell you what, this one would have definitely scared me big time. This one was so bad, it would have scared me. Well, anytime you get up in the sevens, you know that is bad. Please give me a one if you can see my screen. Thank you.
And those major earthquakes in Venezuela were not the only ones to strike yesterday. There were strong earthquakes in Northern California and also Japan.
Eyewitness News reporter Irene Cruz joins us live in studio with the latest. Irene?
Yeah, John, Rachel, Tony, you can see from this map those quakes hitting multiple regions across the globe yesterday, including here in California. But like you mentioned, the most destructive and most deadly, that was in Venezuela. At least 164 people dead, 971 people injured. And now the nation's acting president says those numbers could go up as rescuers scramble to search disaster zones.
An earthquake just shook the entire building.
Hundreds of buildings collapsed, and now time is ticking to pull out people trapped beneath the rubble after two earthquakes struck Venezuela. The first, a 7.2 magnitude quake. Then 39 seconds later, and just miles away, a 7.5 quake. People seen fleeing into the streets of Caracas, buildings swaying and smoke plumes rising from the city. Crowds even spotted gathering around collapsed buildings as first responders work to rescue anyone they can. Officials warning the casualties could be high, adding that the quakes are the largest to hit Venezuela in more than a century.
They take the information we have about where the shaking occurred, compared to where people live and the type of buildings that they have, and they estimate that this is going to be a very devastating earthquake with the highest probability that the death toll is between 10,000 and 100,000 people.
In the last 24 hours, 3 separate regions were hit by earthquakes. Across the Pacific, a 6.9 magnitude quake struck off the coast of Japan. Thankfully, no major damage was reported there.
No, see, the reason why so many buildings collapse, they do what they do like over in the islands. Whenever like an earthquake happens, they don't maintain these buildings that well in South America or across the Caribbean. That's why whenever there's storms going through the Caribbean, there's always some house or a couple of houses collapsing. They just live in them. They don't maintain them. They do not maintain them. And it's the same way in Venezuela and all across South America. They build the buildings, but they don't maintain them. They don't do, the proper maintenance that should be done on the buildings. They don't do it. So when the earthquake comes, it's not unusual for hundreds of buildings to collapse. And that's what happened. A whole bunch of buildings collapsed. And now they got to figure out what the fatality is, because a lot of folks were in those buildings working, or they were apartment buildings where they live, and they collapse. We can't always assume that people will do what we do. We'll do maintenance on buildings, or we'll do maintenance on the roads and everything. But these places, they really don't keep up with all of that stuff. It's almost like once they slap the building up, that's it. They don't do nothing else.
Then earlier in the day, this 5.6 magnitude quake hit Northern California.
I was shaking from head to toe. My hands were shaking. I was watching wine bottles drop and just break and the wine go everywhere. It felt like it lasted for 20 minutes.
Wednesday's quake lasted 30 seconds and was felt as far as San Jose, 180 miles to the south. Experts say there's no indication the seismic events are related.
They are far enough apart around the world. We don't see an obvious reason to say that they are connected, though I recognize it doesn't feel that way.
And here at home, we also know the urban search and rescue team from LA County Fire is mobilizing. They've gathered gear and supplies at the warehouse in Pacoima in case they get that call to help. In studio, Irene Cruz, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Irene, thank you. And each earthquake is a good reminder that now is the time to prepare for a big one close to home. We have resources to help you get quake ready at abc7.com/earthquake.
temblando. Observen cómo quedó el aeropuerto de Maiquetía estando nosotros acá adentro. Miren, miren el desastre que hay. Acabado totalmente. Observen después el terremoto. Observen cómo quedó todo. Señores, grave la situación que estamos viviendo acá. Terremoto de alta magnitud. Miren cómo quedó todo. Pueden observar, yo grabé en el momento del terremoto, yo grabé todo. Ayudamos a sacar a la gente también. Miren cómo está el techo. Todo quedó destrozado. Todo quedó acabado, mire. Aeropuerto de Maiquetía. Es bueno que llamen las autoridades para resguardar muchas cosas acá, mira. Mira este desastre. Este es Maiquetía, en las ascensores donde están. Observen, aquí estamos todos. Así que vamos a transmitir desde este momento.
This is the aftermath following 2 deadly earthquakes in Venezuela, which struck within a minute of each other. Dozens have been killed and hundreds injured. Here's what we know so far. An earthquake with a magnitude of 7.2 struck in the north of Venezuela near the capital Caracas shortly after 6 p.m. local time on Wednesday, when many people were at home celebrating a national holiday. A second 7.5 magnitude quake struck less than a minute later. Buildings have been destroyed, the country's main airport is closed, and the metro system is down. The acting president says the most affected state is Guaira, which is north of the capital, describing it as a disaster zone. This hotel in Guaira used to be 10 stories tall. Rescue teams are now searching through the rubble for survivors. The US Geological Survey says thousands of people could have been killed in total. Leaders across Latin America and the US have offered their help.
Mierda, marico.
These sort of powerful earthquakes back to back are very rare. They do happen, and unfortunately, the results are what we see here. And here on this side of the world, they can happen on these plates that are moving around. As the Caribbean plate sliding against the South American plate, we call this kind of a strike slip fault, unlike the subduction faults that we see around the ring of fire. But the depth is what's key here. The second quake, which is the bigger quake, is the more shallow quake at just 6 miles deep. So the more shallow a quake is, the more you're going to feel it at the surface and the more destructive they are going to be. The deeper they are, vice versa. These don't cause tsunami. It was a busy day for earthquakes across the world. We had one in Northern California and a larger one in Japan, but those were on the deeper side.
Dios amado.
Mira los delfines, mira, 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 mira. Y mira cómo se cayeron todas las paredes del frente. Marica, esto está muy impresionante esto. Ay, Dios mío, la gente. La familia.
Ya. Ya, por. Afuera que podemos. No se de allá. Hermano, no, fuera más peligroso, hermano. Por allá. Señores, al puerta 4. Por allá.
So the death toll in Venezuela after this earthquake has now hit 164 people and is expected to rise much higher as bodies are discovered in the many collapsed buildings. So the rescue operation, particularly dangerous because there have been more than 30 aftershocks. Other countries are being asked to send in additional rescuers. Companies in Venezuela are being asked for any heavy machinery that they can spare to help with getting to people, and the public just being asked to stay in their homes if their structures are safe, because the risk is greater outside if there are more aftershocks, more collapsing buildings, so they can be hit by falling masonry. A national prayer being organized for 7 p.m. local time for all religions. But the scale of this earthquake and all those aftershocks is pretty hard to fathom.
Okay, y'all. Yeah, that was a pretty bad one. And you see how fast the Most High can tear a country down with just an earthquake. And Caracas, that's like their, isn't that their capital? And they said that place is a mess right now. It's got so many collapsed buildings all over the place. Yeah, they may not bounce back from this one because it takes years. You got to clean up all that debris, and yeah, I mean that takes a long time. It takes a long time. One earthquake that lasts a few seconds can now set you back a good decade trying to rebuild everything. You know what else I found out, y'all? I was just doing some research and I was asking Chat GPT some more questions about South Americans and the difference. And I had put in there, do Latin Americans and Latin people, especially the lighter shade ones in the Caribbean and in South America, do they have Neanderthal DNA? And you know what it said? It said yes. From the Spaniards and the Portuguese intermingling with them, because ChatGPT said they are a mixed race of people. And yes, they also carry the Neanderthal DNA. Yes. So that brings me back to the question, when it comes down to that chart, then how are they our people then? How are they our people if they have a certain percentage of Neanderthal in them? How is that our people when we don't have that? But I'm talking about the light skinned ones, the ones that want to be white, them. They have a percentage of Neanderthal genes, DNA. I'm not talking about the Afro Latinos. I'm talking about the light and bright ones that want to be white. Yeah. So, like I said, then I have to go back and question that chart. But you know what, y'all? It makes sense. Y'all know when I've been doing those back in the day when I was doing the head lice videos. When I was doing that, I was looking up where they have these sites that will help you get rid of head lice, these clinics, and they're all over Puerto Rico. Y'all know that? Those lice clinics are all over Puerto Rico. In fact, they're all over the Caribbean and South America. So the ones, especially the ones that got the straight like hair, they get head lice. So it would make sense that if they get head lice, then they would have Neanderthal DNA. Yeah. The light skinned ones got Neanderthal in them, y'all. I mean, so that really explains why they are so indifferent towards us. And when they speak to us, they sound like any other Gentile. Now it makes sense why we just don't click with them, because they're absolutely not our people. They can't be our people if they got Neanderthal DNA. I mean, they come here looking down their noses at us. And I'm like, what is that all about? But now it makes sense. I mean, they are a separate nation from us. We're not the same nation. Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. So, y'all, they got hit hard. They got hit hard. Now, didn't Donald Trump want to run Venezuela? So, okay, so what are you going to do about this, Donald Trump? You're going to have to help a bunch of brown people. And we know you don't like doing that. From Hurricane Maria, we know you don't like doing that. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. And I am still working on my next live. It's just yesterday I got hit with a lot of orders. And I was not expecting that. But the good part is every single order went out today. Every single one went out today. So you should be getting it shortly. So y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day and be on the lookout for my next live. Shalom, family.